Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
Look out for yourself.
Huh?
Look out for yourself.
Look out
David.
for myself?
Yeah.
What's that in reference to?
Look out for yourself.
Okay.
David, what are we here to talk about?
I genuinely don't know what that is in reference to at all. Brian, we're here today to talk about a show you recommended, a Netflix show by the name of Arcane, based on a video game called League of Legends. Before we get into that though, have you got a trailer of the week for us?
No, let's go straight into it.
Okay. Well, if you're not going to do that, then I'm going to tell people before we get things going, make sure that you are subscribed to us on your favorite podcasting app of choice, following us on all of our social medias. They're down the links below, and make sure to give us a 5-star rating if you can, share it with a friend, leave us a review, whatever you can to help out the show. Brian, we're here to talk about Arcane, which is a show that you have been recommending to me for about a year, 2 years maybe.
Have I?
You've recommended it a good bit. Whenever I think of Arcane, you recommending Arcane, I think you would recommend Arcane and The Legend of Vox Machina. Like they were two sides of, not the same coin obviously, but like you would recommend the two in the same breath.
Yeah, I see what you're coming from with that. I've a new pairing of ranking now for that. Invincible and Vox Machina. Mm-hmm. Arcane and Blue Eye Samurai.
Okay, yeah. I know that you recommended Blue Eye Samurai previously as well, so that's on my watch list as well. Do you want to talk people through what, just kind of generally what Arcane is about?
Arcane was a still image on upcoming soon to the Netflix calendar. Mm-hmm. You know, when you go into Netflix, you'll see...
Coming soon, yeah.
Exactly.
Next
and
week.
there's this little still image of this nameless show. I don't recall seeing... Maybe it said Arcane. Maybe it said Arcane League of Legends. Don't know. Saw the image of a little blue-haired girl being held by an older girl with pink hair. Mm-hmm. And why am I intrigued with that for some reason? There's so much mystery surrounding it.
Very simple image.
Yeah, but there's more to it, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I've been waiting for this well before an exact release date of season 1 came out. And I still never watched season 1 after it came out because it was in the midst of not get too sucked into some shows or content on Netflix because they might cancel it. Eventually I did watch season 1. It's the fucking greatest thing I've ever seen in animation.
When did season 1 come out?
November 2021.
2021. Wow. Okay, I didn't realize. I only watched this because you said we're doing an episode on it. So I'm like, right, okay, I have to watch it.
I gave you a deadline.
So with the deadline being the 23rd of November, we're recording this now on the 24th. So luckily, I could say I did it. I watched all of the
good
show.
Man, David.
Came prepared.
Look out for yourself there. So we had a 3-year wait. Right,
you had a 3-year wait. I had 2 weeks.
I had maybe 2 years to wait. I think, or maybe did I have a year and a half? I can't remember. But I've been waiting a while. But man, it's over now. I feel like I've been introduced to something and it's now gone. Mm-hmm. And like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah, you're gonna have to find something to replace it. Well, even before, like when you sat down there, you literally were like, yeah, I watched the last episodes this morning because I spent all of last night rewatching my favourite scenes over the course. Because for anyone that didn't know or anyone that is
unfamiliar with the releasing schedule of Arcane, they released them in batches of 3 episodes.
Which I think is a great way to do it. I think that the normal Netflix model of we're releasing all of it all at once.
Yeah.
It just doesn't leave you wanting. It doesn't leave you waiting for more.
So Act 1, 2 and 3 of Season 1 was over the course of 3 weeks. And I watched Act 1 over the course of a week. I watched Act 2 over the course of 3 days. And I watched Act 3 within the one evening. Mm-hmm. And
it had you hooked right then and there.
Man. Did I say I love the show?
You mentioned it.
So I didn't hesitate to watch Season 2, Act 1, 2 and 3 the night they released. Yeah. Or at least, if I did, I had a good reason for it. And in the lead up to Act 3 of Season 2, I couldn't just go into it knowing this is the end and not have the recent knowledge of what had happened previously. So I went into Season 1 and did a recap of my own to watch all my favourite scenes and the scenes I deemed important. And then I did the same for Season 2 in Act 1 and 2. And so, like, where else to go, David? I don't even know really what League of Legends is.
As far as I'm aware, it's a top-down, point-and-click kind of game. Like, it's like an MMO, where it's basically kind of your armies versus armies, essentially what the finale is. And there are certain characters that you play as that are special characters.
And the description of those characters literally come up in descriptions written down when you like select them.
Yeah.
Like if you had a deck,
you get the backstory.
Yeah, if you had a deck of cards of these characters, that's the most you'll get.
Yeah.
So is it safe to assume, as non-League of Legends fans and connoisseurs of the lore, that this is such a brilliantly written show for a video game adaptation that does not have a story?
Well, now, let me preface that description, or what your question there is saying. That's as far as I know. As far as I know, there isn't any lore. Maybe the lore is just given through those descriptions, stuff like that. However, to answer your question, I think that the way that you could take these characters, and basically you have a block of text and a description of the characters, and to create then a world around all those characters and give them all individual relationships between each other.
Yeah.
Now, are those relationships within the game? Let's be honest, we don't know, because we don't play the game. So our review of it will only really be from the perspective of this TV show. We can't say anything for the game.
And I live and die by this TV show. This 2-season, 18-episode arc. I don't need to seek out what the games are or to play any. And they say they have more stories to tell in the League of Legends world. That's great and all, but my devotion lives and dies with this story here told in Arcane, and between the two sisters and the surrounding characters and events and actions that unfold. David, before we get into that, I impose this task on you to watch this, to binge it appropriately for recording. David, did you like it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, not as much as you like it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it a lot. I found a lot of times that I was a little bit confused maybe by the plot. While I was watching it, I kind of put that down to, it's a show that features a lot of the time where one of the main aspects of it is magic, and we're going to try and use magic through science. Yeah. And so I just wasn't clear on what exactly was going on and what certain characters' motivations were. But you what are we trying to do?
Yeah, but you accept what is presented to you.
I accept it. I never toss it aside or anything like, oh, I don't understand or anything. But, and I think this is very clearly what you like about it so much, is the best part about it, or one of the best parts about it, I actually think one of the other aspects of it, and we'll get to it later, is better, is the character relationships and the depth at which all the characters have their interpersonal relationships with each other, and how deep those go. And there were so many times that throughout that I'm watching it, it's like, oh, I really care about these characters. I really care how they're going on, because when I sat down to watch it, if we start from the start, I sat down to watch it and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the plot. I didn't know the characters. I don't know any of the League of Legends lore, characters, anything. So this is all new to me. So I'm presented it and I just have to kind of accept it as it goes. So I didn't know that Jinx and Vi were sisters. And I didn't know that Jinx then would go on, or Powder would become Jinx and be one of the main antagonists for her. So when these two sisters come along and they're going along, I'm all right, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just happy to see them. And so I'm not expecting this turn and this sudden change and this time jump after the first arc.
So how did you feel at the end of episode 3 in season 1 when Vander sacrifices himself and Powder indirectly kills Clagger and Milo, and then ultimately what happens next is Vi hitting her and calls her a Jinx and abandons her temporarily, but unbeknownst to Powder, it was forever.
The moment where it clicked with me, I was like, oh wow, okay, maybe this is a little bit different, is when Milo and Clanger died. When Milo gets the pole in his arm, or in his chest or whatever, and they're dead. I was like, hold on a minute, they're kids. They're like, I was under the impression that based on these 3 episodes that this is going to be our gang. This is going to be the gang that we follow, and we'll see them over the course of the show. Now, when Vi calls her a Jinx, then something clicked in my head where I go, I've heard the name Jinx before. You know, in terms of like whether it's in relation to League of Legends or whether it's in relation to this show. Now it's now there's like a little bit of like, if you had like foggy glasses and you've just kind of wiped them, you know, oh, okay, something's clicking here now, and I see it. So that was a really heartbreaking scene. And so the sacrifice of Vander as well is great. It's a great moment.
Because you thought it was just one thing when he got stabbed by Silco. You thought that was it. But no, he took the Shimmer and he turned into one of those monsters. And it's not an attractive thing you want to see to a person that, in a fresh perspective, is a leading protagonist in someone else's story. You look at a guy like Vander, he is the guy you want to follow in a story like Arcane, but he's not the protagonist. He might be the profile that you might look at and see, that's the man who should leave this type of story, but not here. And he's dead by episode 3, and the villain is now inherited his adopted daughter as his own.
I actually love that moment. After Jinx and Vi have their fight, sorry, even actually just before that, I thought that him taking the shimmer, when he's on that ground and he's reaching for that bottle, I'm like, oh, he is desperate. Like, he loves these girls, and he kind of knows, like, I'm dying. What have I to lose? You know, and he's like, whatever I can get to help them out. That's a great moment. And then when he obviously comes back up. But that moment where she calls her a Jinx and she like grabs her by the face and all, and throws her on the ground. And when she leaves, and then this guy comes over and it's like, oh shit, he's the bad guy. What's he going to do? And then he hugs her. And you're like, whoa, hold on a second here now. Maybe this guy, it's not black and white. You know, these are fleshed out characters. Yeah. These are real characters.
Even though Silco came at her with a knife, he had a knife behind her back and he had his goons behind her. But he like hid it and he said, hello, where's your sister? And she attacked him with a hug, and he was taken aback by it because this is the last thing he would have expected. And then he found something that he could take care of. And she saw the next thing that she could see as a guardian.
A family. Like, she's lost Milo, Clanger, Vander, and now essentially Vi as well. She's like tossed her aside.
Yeah.
And for her, when Silco comes over and then she runs back to go and save Powder, but then she's taken away. Marcus
is an interesting character because the corrupt sheriff who is struggling with his morals in being corrupt, but then he also has a family. Marcus did one thing that altered the course for the relationship between Vi and Powder, because he falsely imprisoned her because he thought he was rescuing her, preventing Silco from killing her. And while I thought that was never resolved between a conflict between Vi and Marcus, everything did work out in the end. But he wasn't a straight up asshole. He wasn't a straight up villain either himself, Marcus.
No.
And when later on, when he was at the memorial for the previous sheriff, his mentor, voiced by Shorey Agdashlu, he was talking with admiration and acknowledging her bravery and how she stood by what she believed in. She swore her oath and she stood by it, and here he is just a complete hypocrite. So there's that. But if he didn't do what he did, Vi would have ran back to rescue Powder, even if it meant Silco killing her.
Well, it was a moment of everyone you've known is dead, and it's Powder's fault in a way. She's the one that threw the gems in there. So, like, of course she's going to blame her. It's just a moment of weakness, and then as soon as she goes off there and comes back and realises her sister's in danger, I'm running for her. You know, she's still my sister.
Turns out she wasn't in danger after all. But when I was watching this recently, you know when you know bad things are about to happen, and you might be thinking to yourself, oh, please don't happen, please don't do this. I was going, no, this needs to happen. I want this to happen.
You want some conflict.
I don't just want the conflict. I want the mistreatment to Powder to happen exactly the way it needs to happen, because that leads her into her journey of becoming Jinx and forming her relationship with Silco and establishing the adversary between herself and her sister. And this needs to happen because the drama is 90. I love this so much. And I like how in the next episode we're introduced to Powder. I like the way she looks with her side bang and the long hair going down to her ankles, and she's just crazy with that Gatling gun. And we don't even have Vi until the end of that episode. Like,
it's a big time jump. Like
it's 8 to 10 years, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like the way that was presented to us. And when Vi is released from prison later on, she doesn't know the status of Powder.
No.
She's been in prison this long. She could be dead for all you know. She actually probably believes she is dead. And we as an audience have a desire to witness the reunion between the two.
Well, what was the last thing that Vi saw? Powder in the arms of the man that just killed their surrogate father. You know, so of course she's going to think the worst. She gets pulled away and that's it. You know, she's dead. In her eyes, Powder's dead.
What did you think about the reunion between the two of them when she pulls the flare and she raises up high, and while Vi and Caitlin are escaping Silco yet again, and he's going apeshit. And Jinx is reflecting her guilt by the deaths of Claggor and Milo behind her back because she's talking to them the whole time.
What I love about Jinx as a character is how she's presented in the animation and those ghosts of Claggor and Milo. And anytime that we're kind of in her mind or her psyche, and there's like, it's almost like the frame becomes like a sketchbook, and like there's scratches and it's just like, it's not fully there in the same way that Jinx is.
It's unnatural animation to what the natural animation is presented to us.
But it's such a striking image. Like, I think that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up, is that you could stop this show at any point, pause it, and it's a beautiful image.
Oh, yeah.
At any moment throughout all 18 episodes, you know, pause it, and you've got yourself your new screensaver, or you can put that up on the wall, you know, as a painting. It's absolutely beautiful. And forgive me if I misremember this. Did she find that flare, or did she have that with her the entire time?
She had it with her the entire time.
Yeah, that's incredible. That even though it's been 10 plus years, and Silco told her that she was dead.
Yeah,
but she still
still held on to it because she always had the hopeful idea that she would return to her. Maybe subconsciously she thought Silco was lying, but it was something that she like hid away and never touched it for a while. And then
like she even bumped into people that have a similar color hair.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Is it her?"
Yeah,
you know, like
it's haunting her.
It's haunting her in the same way that the other two are as well.
Yeah,
but it's interesting that only Claggor and Milo are like behind her as ghostly forms.
Yeah,
but not her, because I know she's not dead, but in Powder's mind, or in Jinx's mind even, she should be like a dead figure.
But I think because she's pulling the flare, calling her, because at this point Silvika, the one with the big woman with the
arm,
the robot arm, she had a run-in with her and says, "No need to torture me, your sister's back." And that's how she was informed.
She just needs one little bit of confirmation to fully believe it.
And when she does arrive, she says, "Are you real?" She just stands there, but Rai rushes in to hug her. What I find fascinating with this, and I'm giving it way more thought than it was actually presented to us, what does Vi even think about Powder when Powder is the age she is now, when she's 10 years older than what she last saw her? Like, what is she going to look like? What's her personality? Like, it's like when you leave home and you don't see one of your relatives for 10 years and you come back and you left them as a child and you see them as a young adult.
Yeah.
How is that going to, hit you? And furthermore, it wasn't good, apparently, for Vi's perspective.
Well, I would have assumed that I know obviously we get this much later in the show, but the episode where, is it Echo goes to the alternate universe?
Yeah.
I would imagine that's how that version of Powder is what Vi is expecting.
Yeah.
You know, someone that's still grown up in that same environment.
Yeah, in an environment where nothing bad went wrong, mostly. It's kind of funny because I never ever thought I would have that version of Powder presented to me.
To reference, yeah.
Yeah, like even...
This is how things could have gone, yeah.
Yeah, because she has the same type of haircut, but everything else is the same. Like height, face, somewhat personality, but, she's not crazy. She's less crazy than she might be a little giddy, but not crazy.
Not loony, yeah.
Yeah, but it's always the case with Caitlin being an enforcer and trying to do her duty, and after witnessing Jinx commit atrocities and murder, Caitlin is getting in the way of Vi and Jinx. Jinx has lived the life that Silco has guided her into, and Vi is being shown a bit of the light of enforcers and Piltover, the upper class of the world and of the city, not being as bad as they appear to be. And obviously she's formed a relationship with Caitlin. She's trying to make the best of the situation and work things out and not have any further conflict.
Well, it's when Jinx sees Caitlin that she kind of starts to turn a little bit. She's like, whoa, what are you doing with an enforcer?
Yeah.
Like it really just paints Vi in her mind now in a different light. It's like, have you been with them the entire time, or what's going on? Like there's a real divide between the two cities, and the upper class and the lower class.
Then that was just furthermore in the finale as well. And I always felt this finale, it was written very well, but only well enough to a point where it still was always going to go the way it went. Because she has Caitlin there and she has Silco there and now she has Vi there. This is the second time we've seen these sisters together after living totally different lives. And they both had a desire to get back to each other, but now they're back together. There are opposing forces. There are odds. Stop fighting.
You just want them to hold.
Yes, but I want the
drama. They're two different people now.
Yeah,
they cannot possibly. At the end of that season, you're like, these two can't be. Yeah, they can't reconcile.
You look at them, you think they're not sisters. No way they're there. Like, one of them's pale, and the other. Come on, and of course, Caitlin being there, still trying to point the gun at her and get her to stop her and arrest her. Like, that's not the case. And then you have Silco there trying to tell her, no, she's not Powder, she's Jinx. And you got all these people speaking into Jinx's ears, and then all these hauntings echoing into her, and she doesn't know what to do. And she made the choice to kill Silco because he was about to kill Vi. And that was just an instinctive reaction she did. And it seemed like she regretted it immediately.
Can I ask you actually about Silco and Jinx? Yeah. How did you find that their relationship? Because I know that it obviously was it's a pseudo father-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
Did you find that there was a little bit of like an overly affectionate or sexual element to it?
Overly affectionate meaning sexual?
I just felt like there was some points where the way that she would interact with him and like getting into his lap and like hugging him and all this stuff, I was like, before it was like they said this is a father-daughter relationship, like, you know, I felt like that they were together.
No.
You didn't find that at all?
No, never.
Okay.
Not in the slightest. No, I never thought that was a thing at all. It was always, to me, father-daughter. And as soon as he said, you're my daughter, you're perfect, I would have let the entire city of Piltover burn. And this is his dying words after she shot him dead. And that was her decision then to sit in the chair that she labelled Jinx, because it was either that or sit in the chair with Powder, but that came at a cost of Vi having to kill Caitlin because she saw Caitlin as her replacement. Jinx being crazy didn't help that at all, because when she was being operated on and she was injected with the shimmer effects, it made her fast, essentially. It gave her super abilities by the doctor, Dr. Singh, Frankenstein guy.
I think that's an element in the game. I think that
I believe so.
Yeah.
You know, she would have visions of Caitlin and Vi together and how she was being shun out, and that just didn't feed any positive thoughts into Jinx altogether. So no matter how much I wanted the two sisters to reconcile, I still needed this story to progress further into the drama I was still wanting for. So Jinx did the right decision to send a bazooka into the council.
We haven't even talked about any of the councillors or anything like that.
I think that's a good natural lender there, because I would like to get into the characters like Jace and Victor and where they led up, and where are your thoughts on the surrounding characters that do not include the narratives with Vi and Jinx? Because in season 1, I thought it was great and dandy and all to be following all these other characters, but any scenes that did not include Vi or Jinx, I'm like, let's get back to it now. Come on.
Because it is very much I guess you could classify it as an A and a B story, but no, it's like A1 and A2. Like they are very separate stories. That the story with Vi and Jinx and Silco and all them, they bleed into the other story with the counsellors, and they're reacting to that as opposed to the other way around. But right up until the end, when obviously both stories converge right at that point, and then from then on everything is, you know, with season 2 it's all together.
I could not agree more. Absolutely. By the start of season 2 everything melded together, and there was no more A story B story. Like, you can quickly label it that by one story being Jinx and the other one being Vi, but at the end of the day there's too many elements going on all together.
I think that their story, the counsellors and Jason, Victor and stuff like that, it was the hardest one to follow, just because, like I said at the start, it's a story about using science to use magic. And so just inherently, I just found it a little bit, those were the points where I was like maybe tuning out a little bit, or like I just couldn't follow it as neatly.
And I agree with you as well. I would accept what is said in the scene. I would not have a moment to think on my bathroom break, I wonder how their story is going to progress, and what consequences are they going to have as a result of the actions they're doing right now. Dude, I don't care. I'm going to watch the scenes that are going to be presented to me and wait to go back to the sister rivalry. But regardless of that, it was all very well written. It never tuned me out.
No.
I was always invested in it. I could see possibly where the story of Jason Victor was going to go. I liked the story with Heimerdinger and how that bled into him meeting Echo towards the end of season 1.
Like, realistically, even though we're saying this, right?
Yeah.
Like that, it's an A1 and an A2 story.
Yeah.
You have to kind of, like, while you're watching all this, you go, okay, where's this leading? Because they're giving so much time to it.
Yeah.
These stories have to converge. They have to come together, and you're just, like, kind of waiting, like, right. And because you specifically are more invested in the Jinx and Vi story, you want that one to hurry up to converge in, so it can all be this one story.
But you don't want them to brush off anything they introduce unless it's badly written, because at that point you're just mad. But every time they would introduce a new story, whether it would be Jace and Councilwoman Mel, who has the mother.
I liked her. I liked Mel.
Yeah, she was great. And don't forget, Caitlin started off with Jace, and
she was in his apartment, the one that they were fleecing at the start.
Before she was
an enforcer,
yeah. So everyone has their different starters, and then they bleed into each other. And Mel has her own little arc to go through, especially with the arrival of her mother. And Echo wasn't really introduced until the latter few episodes of season 1, and it was great that they kept him there, and they didn't just kill him off at the bridge between that little standoff he had with Jinx, which was pretty good, by the way. Like, where he's taking the watch and he's going to charge at her, and they have the little scuffle, and he hesitates to kill her as well, but she still pulls the grenade. And
she loves a grenade, that girl.
I fucking love Jinx. But I don't think in season 1 I had a concern. You're introducing so many narratives with multiple characters that you're going to be too heavy loaded, and you're not going to be able to focus on the real story.
Yep.
And when season 2 came around, I felt sometimes, where are we going with this?
Yep.
Where's the end game? Because I now know, since they started the marketing campaign for season 2, that this is the final season.
Which is very interesting too. And I think it's also great the fact that we know going in, okay, it's a complete story.
Yeah.
It's not, this is season 2. Oh, and it's also going to be our final season.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the writers had, they were planning a 2-season arc.
Yeah.
An 18-episode arc.
I love that season 1 and season 2 merge like an entire singular story.
It takes place like 5 minutes after.
Regardless of any time jumps in the middle of it all. Because there's quite a few scattered throughout, but it's very seamless, and it's very well connected.
Well, I mean, when you compare our viewing experiences where you waited a year and a half and I waited the couple of seconds it took me to press next episode, and I'm watching it and it's like I can't see a difference between season 1 and 2. Only the fact that I watched it, like you had said, when you were like, they're mini arcs, and so I treated them all as mini arcs and stuff like that. But going from the last episode of season 1 into season 2, I'm like, this is seamless. This is no different.
In relation to the surrounding characters that were not the sisters or the villains, I thought everyone became so much more interesting by season 2.
Everyone in the show, because obviously it was only going to be 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I felt like season 2 was on a real fast track to let's get as many characters to their final versions, as it were. Do you know how they appear in the game?
You think so?
I thought that there was so many characters that from the first episode in season 2 to the last episode are so different, completely different.
You know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was first thinking Silvika with her arm, how she can pull the handle of a lawnmower and exhaust,
rev it up,
and the exhaust. And that's the thing about all their machinery. They all have like exhaust engines. They call it steampunk.
Yeah,
that's what the entirety of this world is built on, steampunk, and you insert blue crystal balls in there and call it magic. That's how you elevate society into a functioning economy. You know, inserting it into their vehicles and machinery, and then eventually their weapons.
Well, like had Jace and Victor not come along with the Hex technology, they would have fully the whole steampunk and that would have just evolved and evolved and evolved. And it's only when they come in with all this stuff, it's like, okay, let's pivot.
Yeah.
And let's move towards that version of technology.
And when you say
Arcane.
And when you say everyone was sped up to be their final versions, are you talking about someone like Jace with his hammer and Victor with his final version? Savika.
No, who was the mage, the other councilwoman? Mel. Her, Jace, Victor, Vander.
Vander, yeah. Warwick, he was named apparently.
I personally would have really liked to see a third season. regardless of story, but in terms of character development.
Yeah.
Because it was just, especially with, I think, Jace the most, where it was just all of a sudden he's completely different.
Yeah.
And I was really liking what they were doing with Victor as well, where he became that kind of monk and this kind of like...
The Herald,
the Jesus figure of like healing people and getting rid of the shimmer.
Do you know what I liked about that first? Is that when you saw the track he was on, when he first healed the guy, who by the way was previously established in the last season, they introduce a character that they don't let them go. They keep them,
make use of them,
make great use of them. And then you next see him afterwards when he's trying to heal Vander in beast form, and you're just waiting for Victor's hidden agenda to be revealed. But no, not there. No, he actually was trying to help him. And he was trying to help. I
believe that.
Yeah, and he was trying to help everyone else. Remember when Vander, as Warwick, the beast, he roared after he heard steam, and Vi went to go cover him up. But then one of the peacekeepers went to go, no, there's no hiding anything here. Everyone is welcome. And then Victor talking to Skye, because Skye was the girl who went to save Victor, but then she got evaporated by the Arcane, and she's talking to him as his conscience. And I don't know whether to believe that is actually her, or if he conjured her to give him a peace of mind.
I think in that scene where she is kind of evaporated, I kind of took it as more like he absorbed her in some sense.
You think?
Yeah, because he was absorbing the Arcane as well. So I just kind of assumed that he was the host and she's a small part of him. And then later on when he lets her go, like he's like kind of getting rid of that aspect of her as well. Yeah,
and I like the simplicity of it when he says, I will miss our talks, and she says, as she's fading away, you won't.
Yeah.
So much to that. And it can be interpreted in a few different ways, but all under the same banner that no matter what Victor is trying to do, it's no good.
See, I really believed him as the Herald.
Yeah.
I really genuinely, I just believed that he was doing good.
When they first showed us as an audience the sign that once Victor heals someone, he is able to embody them, take control of them, essentially. And I like that they didn't just let the council guy, Salo, when he was paralyzed, to just fade into nothing. No, they actually made use for him. And when Jace came back from the future apocalypse, he's in his Mad Max form, he kills him because he's part of something that he has to eradicate. And the point I was trying to make is that all the people Victor healed were connected together into a
one hive mind.
Yes, and that is not good.
No,
not good at all. And and no matter how good he appeared to be, how peaceful he appeared to be, no, he was one of the final foes to overcome, and he was
the final foe.
Yeah, he was.
What I liked about, sorry, before you go on, I quite liked about all the people that he healed, that they still had like scars.
Yeah,
they had little like pieces like that. What is it that Jay says later on in the finale? He says like it's those imperfections that make people beautiful.
Yeah,
you know, you can't just wipe away everything, and I quite like that because when he does heal the people from the shimmer, the scars are still there. You know, they're not perfect. And I think that was just really good to like remind you. Like,
sometimes you can see Victor's handprints on their faces. When you said that Jace's storyline was rushed slightly, in other words, you would have liked the pacing to be done differently.
Yeah, I think that by the time that the characters end, they are in their, you know, how they would finally be in the game.
Yeah.
If you were to load up the game, that's how they look. And I just felt that was a little bit too quick, just for the amount of episodes we had.
Yeah.
You know,
now, let's be fair as well. When Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger were transported into their worlds, that was in episode 3. Jace didn't come back until the end of episode
6.
And he did his own thing. And then Heimerdinger and Echo and Jace, we don't know what happened to them when they went until episode 7. We've got 2 episodes left after this. What?
See, that's where I'll forgive it as well. Because when Jace came back, and now he's all of a sudden in this thing.
We have an end point.
I'm like, what is going on? I was so confused. I was like, how is he like this? Like, I haven't seen him in ages. And now all of a sudden... But then the next episode, obviously, we get the answers.
Yeah.
And I'm like... Okay, I'm satisfied with that, and I think that something that I have to think about as well is that must have been so confusing for you to watch the episode 6 and then wait the week because you're not watching that episode 7 because of the way they released it with the chunks.
Yeah.
So you're getting all of a sudden Jace coming in blowing up Victor, and then it's not until you watch it where you get the backstory of what he's gone through, and who knows how long he was in that apocalyptic world. Times run differently.
Honestly, I completely forgot him, Heimerdinger, and Echo were gone because I was just solely focused on the story they were going with Vi and Jinx. I was so engrossed by what they were doing with them, anything to do with them. I just Jace was not around. What's going on with him? He looks all Mad Maxy. And I think that happening to him is the best thing they ever could have done with him, because he was very rigid in his one lane, and the most interesting thing he appeared to be is when he took no shit. And when he killed that boy in season 1 and he says, I'm not doing this anymore, and he said to Vi, take those off, I can't let you leave with them. And he says, make me. He's like, this is the first time we're seeing Jace actually have a pair of balls to and stand up to one of our favourite characters that we would actually normally root for. But the episode where he goes into the future where Victor killed everyone, that arc was the best thing to ever happen to him, because now we know we have an endpoint, because he comes back to conduct the act of killing Victor temporarily.
Kind of one of those loops as well, where him going back to kill Victor isn't the answer. That's what actually sets him off to start this whole final arc, this final act. And luckily he was able to realise that it was at that moment where he is on top of the roof after their fight, and he's holding the hammer. I'm like, it's him, because when he gets the hammer, when he takes it from that universe, the corpse, because the eyes are moving. Do you see that? That
wizard made the eyes move once he touched it.
But not him. I never had in my head that was Jace, or that could have been Jace, or anything like that.
Really?
No, I didn't.
I knew it was him because he had the hammer. I knew it.
No, but the hammer looks so different from his actual hammer.
Yeah, but I know. Like I just thought it absorbed it, and it became different, because it was very different as well. What did you think about the sudden introduction that Mel is a daughter of a mage, and she's essentially a witch, and she has superpowers now?
Again, that's one of my problems of just not having enough time to flesh out these characters, and all of a sudden we need to get to her being a mage.
I feel like that's the only one I could say that was okay. I'm not going to challenge it, I'm not going to argue it, because I love this show too much and it doesn't bother me. And I thought it was still well written.
I like, once she became the mage, like I liked her character before she was a mage. I liked her character after the mage. Yeah, you know, there was nothing wrong with that transition. I just would have liked a little bit more focus on her, because throughout the kind of first season, I felt like she was a secondary character to Jace. She's a supporting character to him.
But all it takes is an episode, or even half an episode, for her arc to come to its end point, into what the games League of Legends have these characters be. I like that they had a goal for everyone. They had a purpose for every character. I really appreciated that. Echo and Heimerdinger.
Yeah, I was literally about to say Echo and Heimerdinger. I quite enjoyed their side episode. I really did feel like when that episode opens, right, and the two characters on the vinyl are different, it is Powder and Echo.
Yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about that.
I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden we're doing this alternate reality episode where I'm like, what's going on? We've got 3 episodes. Why are we... And I'll be honest with you, I'll put my hands up and say, I did say, why are we wasting time here? You know, we want to be in the main...
I can't say I would have said, why are we wasting time? But I was concerned.
What are we doing?
Yeah, where are we going? How do you have time for this?
But luckily... in that whole alternate universe, and we get the double feature as well, where we're splitting time between Jace and the two of them, and the consequence. And what I actually quite liked was seeing characters like Silco, Milo and Clanger and
Silco and Benzo. Benzo is Echo's father.
Yeah. Sorry. But seeing those characters grown up, and seeing those characters in a way that we haven't before, and like seeing how Milo and Clanger would be, because they died as children, you know, and seeing how
now they're young men, and they're all friends, and like last time we saw these kids together, Milo was bullying Powder slightly, and here she is all full of confidence, able to help Milo get a girl and ask her on a date, and like they were growing up. And it was nice to see Vander still there, still friends with Benzo. Like, I really like the character of Benzo so much, and he was only in like 2 episodes in season 1, and that was it. Like, there's so much. I think it's his voice. I think it's his appearance as well. How Vander was gonna leave Benzo in charge of the Undercity, while he would have the sheriff arrest him for the crimes that his kids committed. And then all of a sudden Silco's there as well. And Echo calls him, didn't you try to kill him? Saying, didn't Vander try to kill Silco? And Silco looks at him like, what a way to bring up bad memories. He tosses it off as, but yeah, I learned to forgive. And we are shown the flashback with them at the bar, and they're talking to the girls, to the sister's mother. And that one scene really did a good job to just showcase their brotherhood and their hopeful ideas, the optimistic plans to bring Zon into the forefront and make it a great nation, sistered to Piltover. Great inspirations within themselves, and just being brothers in the alternative reality, and what could have been. This relationship between these 2 guys, it's parallel to Vi and Jinx, and them together, I like their relationship more than Optimus Prime and Megatron, more than Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and I prefer it more than Vader and Obi-Wan.
Wow, okay.
That's just because I just love this, and this is a great major contributor to that.
Yeah.
And I really see this, because I mentioned Vander is a great profile character that you can follow as the protagonist in its own story. I could see a conceivable story where we have a prequel to Arcane where we follow Vander and Silco, and their attempts to bring the Undercity to equal that of Piltover, and what ultimately destroys their relationship and forcing them to become enemies. I just think there's so much untouched potential there.
Yeah, you kind of wonder, like, at what point did the timelines diverge?
Well, apparently in that world
it was only just have been at the
failed attempt at
That's crazy.
Which is where Vi died there. And here we are presented in a reality where everything is great, but Vi's not in it. And that's just the only drawback. And
clearly one character being dead and everyone else is in a better position, everyone else is in a better life.
Yeah, and like, why would Echo want to leave? But he said he has people waiting for him back there and he has to go. And I like that they incorporated Powder into that, and Echo was able to grow on her, and that little dance he has with her. It's like, that was in season 2 episode 7. Season 1 episode 7 they were fighting.
Yeah. And because he's able to kind of develop this relationship with that version of Powder, he's able then to know, okay, I can save Jinx.
Yeah.
When he comes in. And I love the little time travel device, the time loop.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's great.
Brilliant.
I love it. And
it's something you don't think would be introduced, time travel, yet we accept it and we're not questioning it. And
because anything can kind of happen because of the fact that it's science and magic.
Yeah.
Just anything. And like, as well as that, it's not ever really addressed. But there are so many different species of characters as well.
Oh, but you don't bother yourself questioning, why is this rat looking creature sitting at a mob table, and why is there a fish man, one of the Dude,
doesn't matter.
Stop.
Yeah.
Do you question that when you're in Star Wars? No. Just because of space. No.
So because those things are, you're not questioning them or anything like that. As soon as they introduce time travel, and we're introduced to time travel right after we've hopped realities.
Yeah.
Then it's fine, you know, we're not, and it's quite simple as well. It's like a time loop, you know.
Yeah.
I can go back 1 second at a time, 2 seconds at a time.
What did you make of Heimerdinger's sacrifice? He was a little guy I never thought would have gotten his hands dirty.
I think I couldn't see him being of much use in that finale.
Yeah.
So I can understand why maybe the writers were like, he needs to go.
I thought he would have at least stayed, but I thought at least that's what the writers would have done, that he would have stayed in that reality. But
he seemed to enjoy himself in that reality as well.
He was a good character in what they did with him, and he's always going to be the smartest guy in the room. That's how I felt with him.
I wasn't too hot on him. Just I'd say that's probably why I don't have much to say.
Yeah,
is that I just I didn't think much of him, or he wasn't ever close to maybe my top 5 or something like that, you know.
Oh, no, of course, I can name 5 characters I like more than Heimerdinger, but I like that no one fell to the wayside and no one plateaued, you know. Everyone had their uses. I also like that when our version of Echo left, that this reality of Echo came too, and it's like, Powder, what happened?
That he didn't lose. Yeah, he didn't lose Echo or something like that.
That Echo didn't die. I like that as well, because that universe has a happy ending, and now Powder has a little draw of remnants to a reality that she'll never come to know, and it's a reality that her sister is alive. And I thought it was beautiful as well when she said, "I'm gonna go see Vi. Do you want to come?" And it's like, oh yeah, let's go see Vi, see what this reality has installed for her. She's dead. And she has a shrine of her. Oh, so sad. But back to the main point. I wanted to address the narrative between Vi and Jinx in season 2, with Vi becoming an enforcer and Jinx living moment to moment, not sure what she wants to do, going from one moment where she wants to fix something for Savika and giving her an arm, gaining a new found sister to look out for, and fighting her sister Vi in ultimately the biggest fight they ever have.
Yeah, I think my favourite aspect of Jinx actually is her becoming that adoptive sister. Her to Isha, she is being to Isha what she wanted Vi to be to her. You know,
you see that when Vi and Jinx are, you know, they've had their fight and they're clearing the air and they're looking for Vander, and I don't know which I love more, this or the fight, because in this tunnel scene where they're clearing the air and they're like, they're having the talk we wanted them to have since that time jump in season 1, that Vi calls Jinx delusional, and that bothers Jinx because she's trying to show off to Isha as the funny, cool, better sister. Yeah. And she goes to Vi, well, I wish I was only seeing things when I saw you joining the enforcers that killed mom and dad. Well, at least mom and dad didn't see their daughter become a psycho. Which one? I like the quick comebacks that Jinx has for her. It's like Jinx is ready for a fight, physically or verbally.
What I like so much about their physical fights is that like you said, they had one of the biggest fights, the two of them fighting. But then as well as that, like, what is it, the next episode or two, they have just a scuffle on the ground.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they can have two sorts of fight. We can have a big, huge, action-based fight.
That they're actually trying to kill each other.
And then one where these two characters who were in that fight to kill each other are now like on the ground pinning each other and just like slapping each other. You know,
like
a real sisterly fight.
Yeah, do you surrender? Is like, yeah, ready whenever you are. And I like how they call each other out for the things the other can't do. By saying, you wouldn't last 1 second without all your gadgets and ugly tricks. And she's like, yeah, what about you with those oversized bitch mittens with the gloves, which by the way you didn't build yourself. I like how they reinforce that Jinx is a gadget maker.
Yeah,
she's clever, she's an expert in all sorts of little gadgets and trickery that she can use as weapons.
Well, that's like even with Echo and your man, what's his name, Hermandinger, they both go to Powder in that alternate universe to help them with the Hex Tech.
Yeah.
You know, so if Jinx in our mainline universe hadn't become Jinx and, you know, went on this destructive path, if instead she had gone to the academy or whatever and she was working on Hex Tech, who knows what the world would have been like.
But back to Jinx being to Isha what she wanted Vi to be to her. Vi saw that, and that she realised that Jinx doesn't need her anymore. And I'd like to know more on what Vi was thinking with that, because here she is seeing this crazy girl who is her sister that she waited 10 years to get back to rescue, and here she is, she doesn't need her at all. I like that pretty much.
And I like that from that point on, she no longer refers to her as Powder. She calls her Jinx.
Yeah. Remember when Jinx goes to her in her little apartment when she's living her brawl life, fighting every night and getting drunk, that Jinx writes on her face her name, Jinx, copying her sister Vi. Like,
I love that little tattoo. I'll be honest with you, that's a great little touch.
Yeah, it was nice.
But I like that she's given up, you know, like as in, no, she's not giving up on her, but she's given up on thinking that she's the same person that she left behind.
Yeah.
You know, she's accepted Jinx as Jinx now.
Just the drama I need. Just the sibling rivalry I've been wanting. That's why I can't decide whether I love that little scuffle fight they have more than the actual fight they have with that song I keep playing over and over again. To ashes and blood. To ashes and blood. Ashes and Blood. That music playing when they fight, that got the goosebumps going. And then Savika fighting Caitlyn as well, and then when Isha steps in to point a gun at Vi, stopping the whole ordeal.
Jinx loses a finger. I know it's not much of a consequence, but she gets a shot off on her.
And then you're reminded as well when she goes to flick Savika off and she doesn't have the finger, and then she has the robotic one on her hand, and I like that. What I like as well is that unwillingly she becomes a symbol of hope to the Undercity. The blue hair, everyone starts forming fans of her, calling themselves Jinxers. And I like how when one enforcer didn't think she was Jinx,
which is like, I'm Jinx, I'm here to turn myself in. It's like, yeah, right.
Like Jinx wouldn't wear pants like that, like half-eaten circus tent. It's like, I like how Jinx, she pulls her hair in her hand like to show, look, this is my signature appearance, like this is my trademark, I'm Jinx. She's like a little child as well at times, like shrugging her shoulders and fisting her hands. I like that so much, and I like the relationship she develops with Savika after Silco dies. I thought Savika, what they did with her in the finale as well, I just liked it so much that they didn't just did the easy thing and just have her die in battle. No, after everything's said, no, she has a seat at the table.
Well, she's the I would assume she's the representative for the Undercity.
Yeah.
Something that they were going to do at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Jinx fucked up with the bazooka.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of, spiraled everything.
Yeah.
But now they've accepted, that they are a part of this, not community, but these cities are sister cities.
Yeah. So Vander was brought back and in beast form. Did you see that coming? And what did you think about the conclusion? That fucking upsetting conclusion
with Vander
and Isha.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I think that episode was my favorite episode. Season 2 episode 6. I thought that was it was beautiful. I just thought it was brilliant, and that moment where Jace comes in and obviously kills Victor, or shoots him, doesn't kill him but shoots him with his hammer, and all of the people in the community are dead. They're killed. This hive mind is killed, and then Vander the monster is unleashed. Like he is 10 times worse than he ever was previously.
Any work Victor did is undone.
Like it's almost like it's not only undone, but all of the good becomes negative. He's so much further on the scale. The tears coming out of his eyes that are actually like molten lava. It was like, oh no, like genuinely, because right before that happens, Vander saves Jinx and throws the guy out and is like, don't touch my daughter, and it's a really, really sweet moment, and it's this glimmer of hope that yes, he's in this monstrous body, but he's back. And then he's just as quickly as he is given, he's taken away from us and the girls again. But that moment where Isha sacrifices herself and she like does the run and looks back at Jinx and she does the little hand pistol as well, it's such a great moment. It's probably my favorite episode and scene over the whole show.
Part of me thinks that Isha didn't fully realize what she was doing as well. It's like she knew she had to do this one thing to save her big sister, and she was going to do it regardless of any afterthoughts. She wasn't overthinking.
Well, she was always like, Jinx saved her from the streets, and she saved Jinx multiple times. Like she steps in between Vi and her.
She's always there.
Big fight.
She's always
even in
there.
the scuffle. She jumps in and she gets hit in the face.
Like she's always there to defend her. And I really like that as well. And her death didn't undo Jinx's arc to go from villain to apathy. She just surrendered and allowed herself to be locked up. And I like that when she goes to try to kill herself, she's saved by Echo multiple times. She's just not given up to break the cycle of death. I liked her little chat with her imagination of Silco talking to him. I like that voice actor got to come back multiple times to be there for Jinx, and she wasn't out of the battle yet, but Mel's mother and Bessa, who was quite who I would actually think is quite a solid villain for the story they were telling. I liked her and her partnership with Victor to take over the city, to have full control of the power, because she has this other enemy that is lurking in the background, which in summary comes and goes in that of an afterthought. But I summed that up to Ambessa's demons are coming for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I thought the battle was very well executed and riddled with consequences. That Vander lookalike, Laurel, that Vi had a good relationship, filled with arrows.
Yeah, the guy in the gun. Was
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
That girl, Maddie, that seemed to be a fangirl of Vi and then ended up being a warm body for Caitlin to sleep next to.
Yeah.
What
Betrayal.
the fuck?
Yeah.
What a betrayal. So I appreciate your warmth as she's about to execute her. Bitch, shut the fuck up and forehead your bullet.
Not even about to shoot her. She shoots her. Like, it's only the fact that Mel saves her with her magic, you know, puts a shield around her. But like, the gun was fired.
Yeah.
The bullet was about to get her.
Yeah.
I think what's impressive is having now, in fairness, the episode is 10 minutes longer than the normal other episodes, but an episode that is essentially the culmination of all of these other episodes and the final battle.
Yeah.
But yet we get all of these character moments and all of the characters that we have come to know over the course of the show get their moment to shine.
Yeah.
Like, everyone gets a moment.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone does get their moment. And there was a great moment with Mel and Caitlin fighting Ambessa together and failing to the point where... How was she taken out? She removed these magic...
The ruins on her arm or something,
and that's what allowed the demons to come in, and she died with her injuries. But I like the grand entrance here with Jinx in her makeshift hot air balloon. Still steampunky, but it was the propellers from her little workshop, her office, that she was, you know, sitting there throwing grenades all day, making her little gadgets and saying, "That's me," you know, her little goggles. We've had the major fight and we've had the little sibling scuffle, but now we have them back to back, working together, fighting off any foes that Victor was sending off, and of course it was none other than the beast of Vander. And I like that while we're having that fight, Victor and Jace are having their final showdown as well. And
I love that they like, as they're going through the was a hex terminal, and literally Jason Vander like go through their fight. You know, like they are separate fights, but yet they are one and the same almost. Like, it's like, just a great like passing moment.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be getting ready? I still have time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from The Incredibles. Yeah.
And the way it concluded with Jace and Victor ultimately being the wizard who gave the rocks, the ruins to Jace, starting the cycle.
He saved him.
Yeah.
At the start.
He did.
Yeah, like it's all one giant circle. Yeah.
But I don't know if I like that the two of them died together.
Why not?
I think maybe I would have liked to have seen Jace survive. Because one, when you have two in the story, one to live to tell the tale and the other one to be a tragedy in the story. Victor was a good tragedy in that, and I would have liked Jace to have survived to tell the tale and become the man he would destined to be, whether hammer or no. I thought that, you know, just because it's ending, you don't need to kill every character.
I don't know, I disagree. I think that I quite liked that Jace, you know, said like, we're in this together, and kind of your fate is my fate. I
want my partner back.
Yeah, and I liked that he was able to, that they were able to sacrifice themselves together for the betterment. Like, what they wanted was the betterment of the society, and that's what their sacrifice, their dying, was what needed to be for there to be a better society.
Yeah, and I'm not going to write that either. Like, that decision does not deter it being perfect or not a chance. It's just, that's just down to little subjective opinions. But with all the major consequences we've had throughout the entire two seasons, the season 1 and 2, don't know if I was actually ready to see, because, you know, you have two sisters in this story, one of them's going out.
I think that I would rather I would rather see Jinx go out on her own terms than be imprisoned for life, because, like, realistically, no matter what she did in that battle for the good, you can't just forgive the mass murders that have taken place previously. Like, realistically, it's like a thank you, we appreciate your help. You're still going to jail. And I preferred to see her go out on her terms and in the arms of her dad. I know it wouldn't have been her,
but to her it was enough.
Yeah.
But Vi just losing her again. And it was Jinx who took the crystal from her glove.
She made the decision.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a let me go or anything like that. She chose, you're letting me go. She didn't have a say in it.
I just love Jinx so much. It's like, I just don't want to see that. Like, it's so sad. And it's so upsetting. And look, it told the story it was going to tell, and it was going to end either way. And I like, above everything else, that the Undercity and Piltover become united.
Yeah.
And Savika, representing the Undercity, has a seat at the table, and Caitlyn and Vi get back together. And after that, an incredibly hot jail scene.
Yeah, we were waiting for it. We were like, come on, girls,
come on. That is fucking fire.
I love as well the small little moment where Caitlyn goes, oh, just so you know, like, I just before we go any further, like, I was with someone. I said, I don't care, like, you know, that she was like, she was being honest. You know, like, I don't want this to come between us later on. Like, let's stop right now if this is a problem. I said, I don't care. Like, come on.
There is a chance Vi is still a virgin. So
actually, that's actually a very good point.
The Frankenstein Dr. Singh, who wanted to save his daughter from death, he had his happy ending, and
he just he got it.
And you know, he put in the work. I'm happy with that, or I'm neutral with that. So
I didn't care much for it. Well, like, I just didn't think much of it.
I think out of all the side characters that they introduced in this Arcane show, he was the one that they did the most to not let fall to the wayside. They really made great use of him. Every time he showed up, even after Silco's death, he was still there, and he had his part to play. I just liked that. I thought it was great. And there was one final shot of the blimp, the big balloon ship flying off in the distance. They just had that one final shot play, and then they cued the credits. I didn't think much at first, but then I realised in the very first episode, Little Powder pointed at it and says, I'm going to ride in one of those one day. What do you make of that?
Well, I hadn't thought about that. But that's I was confused. I wasn't confused, but like that scene just before that final scene where Caitlyn is looking at like the schematics of the thing, and like there's ventilation shafts and stuff like that. Like maybe she was trying to
determine
did Jinx make it out? You know, did she slip away or something like that? And I like to kind of nearly they closed the book on it, but ever so slightly just cracked it open a little bit, like, maybe this is something we can revisit somewhere else. Maybe she got away. It's not like explicitly said like she did or she didn't, but there's a possibility.
We know just as much as Vi and Kate know.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is the fact that whether she died or she got away, Jinx is gone.
Yeah.
And she's gone.
They're separated now.
Yeah. And oh man, my heart's broke. Like, fucking love this, and I'm so delighted that we got to talk about it.
Well, one aspect we didn't get to talk about that I wanted to bring up, which was my favourite aspect.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen. One of the most beautiful animated shows I've ever seen. And what I have to commend the animators for and the direction of it is how the camera moved within the space and how the characters moved within the space. I felt like there was a cameraman on set. You know, this was a real place that they were moving the camera around, because at no point did I ever feel like they were cutting corners or anything like that. It just felt like we are going to treat this like a television show. We're going to treat this like a film, and we're going to put the camera where it needs to be, and how characters would move around the frame. And even with the fight scenes, like there was one where...
The fight scene where Jinx grabs her Gatling gun, starts pulling the trigger, firing bullets as she swings it towards the direction of Vi, and Vi rejects it and breaks it apart. That's a swinging movement camera. That's not a single take. That's moving.
Yeah, moving the camera within it. And there was one where when Vi and Savika are fighting, and Savika picks her up, or maybe it's Vi, one of them picks up the other one and goes to slam her down.
Yeah.
And the camera kind of moves up with her and turns with her and comes down with her. It just felt real. There was a real weight to all of the characters and to these fight scenes and everything, and it was just stunningly beautiful. And like I said earlier on, pause it at any point and you've got a beautiful image that you could frame and put up in your house somewhere. Like it's genuinely a beautiful show.
It's one of my top 3 favorite shows ever.
Wow, that's big praise.
Ever.
That's big praise.
And I take it back. I don't know what my favorite season of TV is this year, but I just love Arcane in its entirety so much that I can't push it away knowing the entirety of the characters' arcs from A to B.
Yeah.
And what a ride!
You get a chance to talk about it in our 2024 wrap up. I'm sure it'll be one you'll pick definitely.
I'm sure I'll get an opportunity to talk about it again. But I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad that you got to check one off the list.
Yeah. Have you got a recommendation before we let these people go?
I'm going to recommend the next best thing I think people should check out that I hold in the same regard as Arcane. It's the only next best thing, I think, and is still ongoing, even though you might have to wait 3 years. Blue Eye Samurai.
Yeah, you mentioned it at the start.
And I recommended it previously in one of our other Wednesday Waffles, and I'm going to recommend it again. If you haven't watched Arcane, watch Arcane and love it. And then, if you want to watch something else that is not as equally as beautiful, but still in its own right, just a canvas of art to watch, and a quality of storytelling, and rich characters, and diverse characters, and controversial characters, Blue Eye Samurai.
Nice.
I guarantee you, David, when that show concludes, we will be talking about it.
Okay, good. I'm going to recommend a documentary. It's in not a similar vein to Arcane, but based on League of Legends. It's a documentary about the game Dota 2. It's called Free to Play.
Okay.
It's a documentary about Dota 2. They do a competition called the International. And what they do is in Dota 2, I think it's Valve that made the game. They will have like a pack that you pay $3 for, and it gives you cosmetics or whatever. But everyone that buys that, the $3 goes into a big pool, and then they have a big ranked tournament, and whoever wins gets the prize of whatever it is. And I think it was the biggest prize at the time. Like, it was a couple of million. Like, it's a huge prize, but it follows 3 different players in that tournament, and all of them attempting to win the international. It's a great documentary, and
Where can you watch it?
it's on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think it's free to play and free to watch on
All
YouTube.
right.
But I'd recommend it. It's a great documentary. And it won't give you an insight into League of Legends, but if Dota 2 is like a step over. You know what I mean?
Like it's a sister to it.
Yeah. It's like the Vi to Jinx.
And gotta give it to the animation studios, like Riot Games and 4G for greenlighting this show, and beautiful animation they did. Absolute stellar. But I also have to give a big thank you to Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, great theme song.
Oh man, which intro do you like more, season 1 or season 2?
Season 2.
Season 2 is better.
Yeah,
it is. Season 1 had a lot to say with the statues, but season 2 is just it's fucking brilliant.
It made me, even though it's the same song,
Yeah.
it made me want to watch the intro more.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I love it when Jinx is waving the flag. Is
I love that, and I love when Catherine like has her hands on her face, and it's like a crown behind her.
Yeah,
it's
heavy
like,
is the crown. Oh, fucking mad. I gotta stop cursing. But look out for yourself. That's the lyrics in the Imagine Dragons song.
Look out for yourself.
Yeah.
Where does it say that?
Look out for yourself!
I didn't realise that. I'm glad that it came full circle. Brian, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. If you enjoyed an episode like this, make sure you're subscribed to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice. We have new episodes every single Wednesday, as well as bonus episodes every other weekend. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on Letterboxd, we're actually on Blue Sky. It's an alternative to Twitter. I signed us up for that. So if you're on Blue Sky, look us up. It'll be on the description down below anyway.
Now you know.
Leave us a 5-star rating if you can. You can leave us a review. It helps us. Costs you nothing. Gives us everything. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
Fire Jinx.
Oh, Jinx, easily.
Ah, man. Do you know who voiced them?
That was... man, I'm actually raging we didn't bring this up in the episode. I know it was Haley Steinfeld and Ella Purnell. And they disappear into the roles.
Yeah.
Like, it's such great casting. I don't think of Haley Steinfeld when I see V.
I went into Arcane knowing Haley Steinfeld was one of the sisters, so I was anticipating her. I finished season 1 and went into season 2 waiting for Ella Purnell's voice. I don't think of Ella Purnell in Yellow Jackets or Fallout. I think of Jinx.
Yeah. I'm excited now to watch Fallout for her.
Yeah.
Because, Actually, do you know what? I've only ever seen Ella Purnell. I've never heard her voice.
She's British.
Yeah, so like knowing that is Jinx,
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to seeing her, just hearing her. You know? So yeah, great voice cast.
Beautiful stuff.
Thanks, Brent.
Look out for yourself!